Hi everyone, so it's me again. I shot my first ASMR video a couple of days ago and it got more than 100 views, and I didn't expect it. Well, actually, I didn't know what to expect because it was my first time, but still it's kinda surprising, and I got a couple of positive comments, so I thought, yeah, why not I'll do more videos if someone enjoys it. So yeah, well, the good news is I found out that I have the camera. Well, it's not really good, but it's much better than a camera from a mobile phone. This is my old digital camera. Well, we'll see what will be the quality in the end. But today I'm going to read you some of the stories of King Arthur. It's a very old book. It is present for me from my very good friend who bought it in London. It was published in 1905, and I adore old stuff in old books because it contains a lot of stories. This book is about 110 years old, and tons of people read it, and they were thinking about their own stuff. Maybe some parents read it to their children, and yeah, a lot of this book saw a lot of people, and it's kind of fascinating. For example, here in this page there are a lot of ink or paint. I don't know what this is. Maybe some kid was playing, and yeah, it's really fascinating. And yeah, I like this kind of stuff. So yeah, why don't we start reading? So I will read for you the story of Sir Galahad and the quest of the Holy Grail. Not very far from Camelot, where King Arthur was wont to hold his court, stood a grand old abbey. It was a noble-looking pile with grey stone towers, overgrown with ivy and surrounded by green meadows and well-wooded parkland. The Lady Rowena, the abbess, was proud of her home, as well as she might be, and proud of its great fame. But her chief joy was in the young boy Galahad, whom she and her nuns had brought up from childhood. They were sure in their own minds that no other youth like him existed in the whole world. So tall and well made and handsome was he, and so gentle and courteous was his manner. When at last Galahad reached that age which is on the borderland of manhood, the abbess knew that she ought not to keep him with her any longer. It was high time that he were made a knight and sent forth into the world to play a man's part. And indeed, the youth was already fretting under the restraint of his present life. He longed to try his wings in the great world outside the abbey gates. So one day a messenger was dispatched to Sir Lancelot of the Lake, bidding him come to the abbess without delay. Sir Lancelot duly obeyed the summons, and on arriving at the abbey found the Lady Rowena and her nuns waiting to receive him with Galahad in their midst. When he set eyes on the latter, Sir Lancelot thought he had never seen a fairer-looking youth. "Sir Lancelot," said the abbess, "this is the boy of whom you have heard as our ward. We have nourished him here since he was a babe, and our chief joy has been in his upbringing. Now it is his wish to leave us, and as there is none more worthy than you at Arthur's court, we have sent for you to make him a knight." This Sir Lancelot gladly promised to do, for he foresaw that this same youth, Galahad, was destined for some great deed. So on the next day, at the feast of Pentecost, he dubbed his knight. But when he would have carried Galahad off with him to Camelot, the youth refused, saying that he would make his appearance there in good time. Meanwhile, at Camelot, the king, the queen, and all the court were observing the festival with due ceremony. After attending the service and the minister, the king assembled his knights at the famous round table, where all the sieges, except one, were now filled. The one yet empty was that known as the Siege Perilous, wherein no one had ever ventured to sit. According to tradition, this seat was not to be filled until some 400 years had elapsed since the death of Christ, and now the precise period assigned had come to an end. This very day then, said Sir Lancelot, ought this siege to be filled so that we may expect to see a marvellous adventure. The king and his court were about to proceed to dinner in the great hall when a squire came hurrying in to tell of a wonderful thing that he had just seen. In the river below the castle, he said, was a great stone floating on top of the water, and with a sword sticking in it. This was a marvel in very truth, so King Arthur, followed by all his knights, made his way down to the riverside. There, as the squire had told, they found the stone floating on the water with a long sword wedged fast in it. The sword was of beautiful workmanship, the pommel being richly chased and set with precious stones. These were so arranged as to form letters, and when they looked closely at it, they found that the inscription round the hilt ran thus: Never shall man take me hence, but only he by whose side I ought to hang, and he shall be the best knight in the world. On reading this, the king commanded the worthiest of the knights to try and pull the sword from its place, but though many essayed, there was not one who could move it. Making their way back to the castle again, they all went into the great hall, and Sir Kay, the seneschal, now gave orders for dinner to be served. Hardly, however, had the dish been laid upon the table when the hall suddenly became dark. The company looked at each other in amazement, wondering what was to follow. Then the door opened, and in came an old white-bearded man with a young knight at his side. The latter, who was on foot, was dressed in red armor, and in place of a sword he wore an empty scabbard, which dangled at his side as he walked. Approaching Arthur's seat, the newcomers made a low obeisance, and then the old man said, Sir King, I bring you here a young knight, who is of royal lineage, and through whom the marvels of this court and of strange realms shall be achieved. Arthur welcomed the youth with well-chosen words, after which the old man conducted his companion to the Siege Perilous, and, lifting up the clothes that covered it, showed him an inscription graven thereon in gold letters. This is the siege of Sir Galahad, the noble prince. Then, taking his leave, the old man departed. All the knights in the hall were amazed that one so young should dare to seat himself in the Siege Perilous, and whispering among themselves, they said, This is surely he who will achieve the finding of the Holy Grail. Arthur himself was no little astonished, but at the end of the repast he went to where Sir Galahad was sitting, and there saw the young knight's name written. By this he knew that the quest for the Holy Grail, this sacred vessel, which contained some of the blood of our Lord, was about to begin. Having made Galahad welcome again, the king took him by the hand and led him from the palace in order to show him the wonder of the floating stone. Galahad now heard from the king how the knights, one after the other, had tried in vain to pull out the sword. "It is no wonder they failed," he said, "for this adventure is not theirs but mine, and because this sword was meant for me, did I bring none other with me, only this dainty shelf which you see." Then, stretching forth his hand, Galahad drew out the sword easily from the stone and placed in the seaward. "Now have I," he said, "the good sword that was once the sword of Balin, the famous knight who slew his brother Balin, and through this deed my grandfather, King Pelles, received a grievous wound of which he shall not be whole until I heal him." While he was speaking, a damsel sitting on a white palfrey came riding towards them. Addressing Arthur, she said, "Sir King Nation, the hermit, sendeth forth that to thee shall befall the greatest honor that ever befell king in Britain. For this day shall the Holy Grail appear in thy house, and it shall feed thee and all thy fellowship of the Round Table." Then, turning her palfrey, she hurried back in the direction whence she had come without further utterance. The king was not a little moved at her words, for something told him that his company of knights was soon to be broken up in the quest for the Holy Grail, and that many of them he should never see more. He resolved, therefore, that a great tournament should be held in the meadow of Camelot, wherein every knight should show his prowess. The lists were accordingly at once made ready, and all the fellowship of the Round Table put on their armour along to their shields and spears. The great deeds that were done at this tourney are all set down in the old Erinix. How Sir Gawain, Sir Bors, Sir Lancelot, and many another famous knight broke lances together and won themselves much glory. Furthermore, for Sir Galahad it is recorded that he overthrew every one of his adversaries with the exception of two, Sir Lancelot of the Lake and Sir Perceval. And at the jousting it was made known that Sir Galahad was the son of Sir Lancelot. When the tournament was over, the whole company wended their way back to the castle to evensong and afterwards to supper. And now befell the great wonder that the hermit had foretold. For while the king and his knights sat at table, it grew dark, and there was heard a great noise of thunder. Then suddenly a sunbeam of dazzling brightness flashed into the hall. Not a knight moved in his place or spoke a word, so full of awe were they all at what they witnessed. Then, gliding down the sunbeam, there came the Holy Grail itself, covered over with white samite, that none might see it. And at the same time, so the Erinix runs was the whole filled with good odors, and every knight had such meats and drinks as he best loved in this world. And when the Holy Grail had been borne through the hole, then the holy vessel departed suddenly, that they wist not where it became. "Now in sooth," said King Arthur, "ought we to thank our Lord for having showed us such reverence at this high feast of Pentecost." "Give thanks indeed," Sir Gawain rising from his seat. "But one thing remains, that we did not see the holy vessel, which was so preciously covered. Therefore, I do here make a vow that from tomorrow morn I will labor in the quest of the Holy Grail, that I will seek it for a year and a day or more, if need be, and never will I return to this court until I have beheld it more openly than it hath been seen here." On hearing Sir Gawain's vow, nearly all the rest of the Round Table knights rose in their places, one after the other, and made the same vow. And Arthur's heart sank within him, for now he knew for certain that his goodly fellowship of knights was broken up forever. For of all those who were to set out on this quest, who but one or two were worthy enough to achieve it? The Queen and her ladies too made great ado, as the knights would have to ride forth alone and unattended, and the parting was likely to be a long one. The next day the company of knights who had taken the vow, 150 in all, heard service in the minster, after which they rode forth together from the castle and through the streets of Camelot. Sir Galahad rode by the side of Sir Lancelot, his father, until the same came, when they should separate, and his heart beat high with hope, for he felt that he was the one chosen to achieve the quest. Of his many adventures on the way, and of how he did indeed see the Holy Grail, we shall read in our next chapter. So, thanks guys for hearing me. This is it. I'm terribly sorry for my pronunciation if it was bad, and my voice, because I'm a little ill right now, but I hope that it was okay. I don't actually know what to do in further videos. Well, I have some ideas, but most of them are talking and maybe tapping and scratching stuff. Well, as far as tapping is my favorite ASMR trigger, but I don't think that you will like to see only tapping videos in my channel, so I decided to make this one video, and maybe I'll think about something else. Also, if you would like to watch it, I will make a reading in Russian language if I have some of the Russian viewers or someone who likes foreign languages. Yeah, well, I'll think about it. I don't know. Thanks again for watching me. I hope this was relaxing. Please leave some suggestions or comments of how could I develop my videos, or maybe what do I do wrong or right. So yeah, and thank you, and have a good night.